I woke up to a miracle today. Triggers stay as I find my way. No judgment to lead astray. In this peace.
Welcome back to another deep dive into A Course in Miracles.
Always a pleasure.
Yesterday, we were looking at that tricky concept of
Shift in perception.
sets us up nicely for today's lesson, doesn't it?
For sure.
Lesson 14. And this one states, God did not create a meaningless world. Heavy stuff. I think it's helpful to hear it word for word first.
Always.
Really let those words sink in.
I find sometimes just hearing them spoken aloud,
Yeah.
it adds another dimension.
Okay, here we go. The idea for today is, of course, the reason why a meaningless world is impossible. What God did not create does not exist. And everything that does exist exists as He created it. The world you see has nothing to do with reality. It is of your own making, and it does not exist. The exercises for today are to be practiced with your eyes closed throughout. The mind-searching period should be short, a minute at most. Do not have more than 3 practice periods with today's idea unless you find them comfortable. If you do, it will be because you really understand what they are for. The idea for today is another step in learning to let go of the thoughts which you have written on the world and see the Word of God in their place. The early steps in this exchange, which can truly be called salvation, can be quite difficult and even quite painful. Some of them will lead you directly into fear. You will not be left there. We will go far beyond it. Our direction is toward perfect safety and perfect peace. With your eyes closed, think of all the horrors in the world that cross your mind. Name each one as it occurs to you, and then deny its reality. God did not create it, and so it is not real. Say, for example, God did not create that war in blank, and so it is not real. God did not create that airplane crash in blank, and so it is not real. God did not create that disaster, specify in blank, and so it is not real. God did not create that illness, specify in name a person, and so it is not real. Suitable subjects for the application of today's idea also include anything you are afraid might happen to you or to anyone about whom you are concerned. In each case, name the disaster quite specifically. Do not use general terms. For example, do not say God did not create illness, but God did not create cancer or heart attacks or whatever may arouse fear in you. This is your personal repertory of horrors at which you are looking. These things are part of the world you see. Some of them are shared illusions and others are part of your personal hell. It does not matter. What God did not create can only be in your own mind apart from His. Therefore, it has no meaning. In recognition of this fact, conclude the practice periods by repeating today's idea. God did not create a meaningless world. Today's idea can, of course, be applied to anything that disturbs you during the day, aside from the practice periods. Be very specific in applying it. Say, God did not create a meaningless world. He did not create this, specify the situation which is disturbing you, and so it is not real.
Whoa. So much there, right?
So much to ponder.
Starting off by saying a meaningless world is impossible.
Yeah.
But then we look around us.
Exactly.
And it seems like meaningless things happen all the time.
Terrible things.
How do we reconcile that with this lesson?
Well, that's exactly what A Course in Miracles is trying to help us with.
Is it?
Yeah.
By showing us that this world, the one with all the pain,
Yeah.
with all the seeming randomness, it's not the true reality.
It's like we're caught up in a movie. It feels real while we're watching it.
Right.
But it's not who we really are.
I see. So all those things, those bad things we say, A Course in Miracles is saying because they don't come from God, they're not real.
In the truest sense, no. It's not about denying that those events happen.
Right.
But seeing them from a different perspective.
A different lens.
Like if you're scared of spiders,
Yeah.
they're terrifying to you.
Uh-huh.
But to an entomologist, they're fascinating.
Interesting.
Same spider, different perception. I like that. And the lesson emphasizes closing our eyes.
Right.
Is that to help us look inward rather than out at the scary movie?
Exactly.
It's all about shifting our focus.
Tuning into a different channel.
Yeah.
And notice how it says to name specific fears, not just general ones.
Why do you think that is? I think it's like shining a light on those fears.
I agree.
Instead of, I'm scared of illness,
Right.
it becomes, God did not create this cancer.
Makes it
less powerful.
Yeah.
Because it's not coming from this all-powerful source.
Exactly.
And then when we add, and so it is not real, it's like we're chipping away at that fear.
Yes.
Because if it's not from God, where is it coming from?
Our own minds, right? Like
No.
that movie we're creating.
I remember when I was going through a tough time with my family,
Yeah.
everything just felt so dark.
I've been there.
But I started applying this lesson to my specific fears, and it really helped me see things differently.
That's what A Course in Miracles is all about.
Yeah.
It's about realizing we have more control over our experience than we think we do.
It's not about pretending everything's perfect,
No.
but about choosing to see things through a different lens.
A lens of love and forgiveness.
And that brings us to that interesting part of the lesson,
Yeah.
where it talks about applying this not just to our personal fears,
Mm-hmm.
but to those big, scary events in the world.
Wars. Natural disasters.
Things that feel way beyond our control.
Exactly.
What do we do with those feelings when they come up?
That's where it gets really fascinating.
It does.
And that's where we'll pick up in the next part of our deep dive. It's amazing how A Course in Miracles asks us to question everything we think is real.
Yeah, to see things differently.
Not to deny what we see,
Uh-huh.
but to understand it on a deeper level.
To go beyond the surface.
Right.
Beyond the headlines and the fear.
And to see the love that's always there.
Even when things seem really dark.
Which brings us to a really important question.
Yeah.
If suffering isn't real in the truest sense, how do we make sense of all the pain in the world?
It can feel insensitive to say it's an illusion
Right.
when people are going through terrible things.
Like, where's the peace in a plane crash? A Course in Miracles isn't saying the pain isn't real to the person experiencing it.
It's offering a different way to understand what's happening. But how does A Course in Miracles explain suffering then, if it's not really from God?
Well, think of it this way.
Okay.
God is pure love.
Right.
Everything that comes from God reflects that love. Suffering comes from fear, separation, the belief that we're apart from God.
Which A Course in Miracles says is impossible. Trick of the
A
mind.
bad dream.
But how do we wake up from it when it feels so real?
Well, that's where those practices we talked about come in.
Mm-hmm.
Naming our fears. Choosing to see things through the eyes of love.
Instead of dwelling on the problems,
Yeah.
I started saying, God did not create this conflict.
And did that help?
It didn't magically fix everything,
Right.
but it changed how I felt inside.
That's the key, isn't it?
It is.
It's like choosing a different channel on the radio.
I like that.
We can tune into the channel of fear and suffering,
Yeah.
or we can choose the channel of love and peace.
But what about those situations that feel completely out of our control? Like wars and natural disasters. Can we really choose peace in those moments?
That's where it gets really powerful.
Okay.
A Course in Miracles suggests that even in those situations,
Yeah.
there's a place of peace within us that can't be touched by the chaos.
Like the eye of the hurricane.
Exactly.
But how do we find that place when everything around us is falling apart?
It takes practice.
Yeah.
One way is to shift our focus
Okay.
from what's happening outside
Mhm.
to what's happening inside.
Instead of getting swept up in the fear and panic,
Right.
we turn inward,
And remember who we truly are,
children of God,
whole and perfect.
just as we were created.
Exactly. And when we connect with that truth,
Yeah.
even for a moment,
It can make all the difference.
it's not about denying the reality of the situation,
Right.
but about choosing a different experience of it.
So even in the midst of a disaster, we can find peace.
That's what A Course in Miracles teaches us.
That's a pretty radical concept.
It is, but it's one that's supported by countless stories
Yeah.
of people who faced incredible adversity
Yeah.
and come out the other side.
With their spirits intact.
Stronger even.
Like Viktor Frankl.
Yes.
He found meaning and purpose even in a concentration camp.
His story is a testament to the power of the human spirit.
He wrote about how suffering can be transformative.
If we choose to find meaning in it.
So it's not about pretending everything is fine,
No.
but about finding that inner strength and peace.
That can't be shaken by external circumstances. It's like tapping into a wellspring of love and resilience, no matter what's going on around us.
That's such a hopeful message.
It is.
And I think it's something we can all apply to our own lives, even in the face of those everyday challenges. That can feel so overwhelming sometimes.
But how do we actually do that?
Yeah.
How do we bring these big ideas into our daily experience?
That's a great question.
And it's one that we'll explore further in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll talk about specific practices and techniques,
That we can use to cultivate peace and joy.
even in the midst of chaos.
Sounds good.
So stay tuned for part 3.
Where we'll dive into the practical side of applying A Course in Miracles to everyday life. Welcome back to our deep dive into Lesson 14,
We're talking about finding peace even in the midst of chaos.
both big and small.
Right.
And A Course in Miracles gives us so many tools for that.
It really does.
Instead of feeling like we're at the mercy of everything that happens,
Right.
you can tap into that inner stillness.
Which can't be touched by outside circumstances.
But how do we actually do that?
Yeah.
Because A Course in Miracles can feel pretty abstract sometimes.
They can.
Are there any specific practices that can help us
For sure.
bring these ideas down to earth
Absolutely.
into our everyday lives?
One of the most fundamental practices is forgiveness.
Forgiveness.
I know that word can be loaded.
Yeah, it can feel like we're letting the other person off the hook
Right.
or saying what they did was okay. But that's not what A Course in Miracles means by forgiveness, is it?
Not at all.
What does it mean then?
In A Course in Miracles, forgiveness is about our freedom.
Our freedom.
It's about recognizing that holding on to anger, resentment, or judgment only hurts us,
It's like drinking poison.
and expecting the other person to get sick.
Right.
It just doesn't work that way.
And you mentioned it applies to ourselves too.
Oh, absolutely.
Forgiving ourselves.
Which can be even harder because we can be so hard on ourselves.
Yeah, we're often our own worst critics. But A Course in Miracles reminds us that guilt and shame
Keep us stuck.
in the past
They block us from experiencing love,
and acceptance.
which are already ours.
So how do we actually do this forgiveness thing?
It sounds great in theory.
But what are the practical steps?
One technique is simply repeating the words, I forgive you.
Okay.
You can say it out loud or silently, focusing on whoever or whatever is causing you pain.
And what if we don't feel it?
You don't have to feel it at first.
Okay.
Just keep repeating it like a mantra.
It's like planting a seed,
I love that analogy.
even if the ground is hard. With enough time and attention, something can grow.
Exactly.
And as we practice forgiveness,
We start to see things differently.
the anger fades.
And we might even start to understand the other person's perspective.
Like that quote, to understand all is to forgive all, with more compassion.
Another powerful practice from A Course in Miracles is mindfulness.
Mindfulness.
Not just the trendy kind where you're focused on your breath,
Right.
but mindfulness of our thoughts.
Because our thoughts create our reality.
According to A Course in Miracles, yes.
So if we're constantly thinking negative thoughts, fearful thoughts,
That's what we experience.
so mindfulness is about becoming aware of our thoughts.
And choosing which ones we want to believe.
It's like we're the bouncer at the door of our minds,
Love it.
deciding which thoughts get in and which ones get turned away.
But how do we do that?
Because sometimes it feels like our thoughts are just running wild.
Like monkeys in our heads.
Exactly.
The first step is simply paying attention.
To our inner dialogue.
What kinds of thoughts are playing on repeat?
Are they mostly positive or negative?
Fear or love?
Just noticing without judgment.
Exactly.
And then we can start to challenge the thoughts that aren't helpful.
Right?
If I catch myself worrying about something,
Yeah.
I can ask myself, is this really true?
Is it helpful?
Is it aligned with A Course in Miracles?
Is it bringing me peace or stressing me out?
And if the answer is no, we can gently let that thought go.
Choose a more loving and peaceful thought instead.
It takes practice.
It does.
But eventually we can retrain our minds
To focus on the good.
to see the love that's all around us
And to experience that peace.
that A Course in Miracles promises.
It's a journey,
It is,
but a journey worth taking.
because who doesn't want more peace and love in their lives? Well, that brings us to the end of another deep dive into A Course in Miracles.
We hope you found this exploration of Lesson 14 helpful.
And inspiring.
Remember, the real work happens out in the world.
As we apply these principles to our everyday lives,
Until next time, keep practicing forgiveness.
cultivate mindfulness.
And choose love in every moment.
I woke up to a miracle today.